Discover 35 life-changing minutes, amazing secrets to unlock your billionaire dreams. Jake sat in the dim light of the auto shop, his fingers nervously tracing the contours of a wrench, a tool that for so long had felt like an extension of himself. Now, it felt more like an anchor dragging him down. It was a sunny weekend in Maplewood, the air thick with the smell of barbecues and the joyous sounds of children playing outside. Yet here he sat, lost in the shadow of his father's legacy, wrestling with the weight of a crushing silence after his father's sudden death. The shop was burdened with bills, the walls echoed with memories of laughter and love, and every part of him ached to hold onto what he had, even as the reality of loss sank in. As he rummaged through his father's cluttered desk, a dusty letter slipped out, causing his heart to leap. Hesitantly, he opened it to reveal a blueprint, his father's forgotten vision of transforming the family shop into a tech-savvy haven for eco-friendly repairs. Suddenly, a flicker of hope ignited within him, battling against the suffocating shadows of grief. Could he truly honor his father's legacy while stepping into the future? "Mom, Mike, you've got to see this!" Jake burst out, his eyes wide with enthusiasm. But as he shared his dreams, trembling voices of uncertainty crawled to life. Mike frowned, his skepticism sharp, and Janice's eyes filled with tears, afraid of losing the only world they had ever known. The past swirled around him like autumn leaves caught in a storm. Fights over childish mistakes resurfaced, leaving wounds that felt far from healed. Would they embrace change, or cling to what was safe? Days rolled by, and Jake tried to reach out. He sought help from eager local college students looking for real-world experience. Together, they began sketching plans, hanging hopes, but the community, they loved the rusted charm of their shop and didn't trust these big city ideas. Whispers of doubt drifted through the town like the clouds overhead, blocking out the sunshine. Jake felt the pressure mounting from all sides. Each new face brought skepticism, each skeptical glance tightened the grip on his chest. But deeper still, the unhappiness of his family grew, a palpable tension swirling around them. What if we lose everything? Mike's voice echoed like a warning bell, while Janice's fears became too loud, drowning out her belief. As funds dwindled, he faced a haunting moment of decision. Retreat and stay comfortable in his father's shadow, or leap into the unknown and risk it all. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Jake found himself caught between dreams and despair, an urgent financial demand arrived, an unexpected twist that threatened to unravel every thread he'd begun to weave. Hope hung by a fragile thread, the stakes raising higher than ever. Would he find a way to navigate the swirling emotions and unite his family, or would the tension tear them apart? The clock ticked menacingly, and the answer was just out of reach, bursting with potential yet shadowed by uncertainty. Jake stared at the letter, his fingers trembling. The blueprint lay like a treasure map on his desk, its potential untapped yet brimming with ideas. But that potential felt increasingly out of reach, especially with the grim stack of bills in his other hand. The demand from the bank loomed large and monstrous, darkening the sunlight that streamed through the shop's windows. He couldn't shake the feeling that his dream was on the verge of being snuffed out before it ever had the chance to breathe. Taking a deep breath, he reminded himself that this was his father's vision too. It was more than about just changing the shop, it was about honoring a legacy. Stepping forward and seizing this moment would show everyone that dreams could transform even the darkest situations into light. Yet doubt slashed through that resolve like a knife, and he felt isolated in his mission. "Jake, are you in here?" came a voice from the doorway. It was Sarah, one of the college students he'd enlisted. Her smile was bright, cutting through his haze of anxiety. "I've got some ideas about the community launch event. We need to get the word out." She stepped in with a folder of sketches she and the others had worked on. Something about her determination ignited a flicker of optimism within him. "What if we invite the whole town?" she suggested. "We could showcase not only the shop but also local businesses and the innovations you're planning. If we can get them invested in the vision, we might win them over." The thought struck him as brilliant and terrifying at once. But what if they don't want any of it? What if they just see it as a threat? Fear and change go hand in hand, but we have to show them how this can be a win-win. People love progress. They just need to see it in action, she insisted, her enthusiasm palpable. Within that exchange, an ember of determination crackled to life in Jake's chest. "You're right. We can't shy away. We have to face this head-on." They spent the next few days preparing for the event, transforming the shop into a more inviting space. With the help of the students, they painted the walls a fresh hue and rearranged the displays. Jake felt his heart lift along with a growing sense of purpose. Still, as excitement surged, he noticed a cloud of uncertainty lingering over his family. Mike and Janice often exchanged fraught glances while Jake lost himself in transformation. At dinner, the tension was nearly unbearable, a silent battle fought under the guise of family. "Are you sure this is what Dad would have wanted?" Mike finally asked, breaking the stillness. "What if we fail? What if this just drives the community further away?" Jake's stomach twisted. "We have to take that risk. If we don't try, we'll never know what could have been. We owe it to him and to us." Janice, who had stayed silent, glanced at her sons, her eyes brimming. "I just want us to be safe. This shop has always been our home." Jake felt his throat tighten. "But it's also a chance to build something new. I'm doing this for us, to keep the shop alive, to keep Dad's spirit alive." The air turned thick with emotion, words hung like suspended dust. Would his family find common ground in this shared dream? As the day of the launch event approached, Jake experienced a mix of fear and excitement. He spent sleepless nights crafting a pitch, wanting nothing more than to pull his family together under the bright promise of the future. But as he stood on the cusp of this monumental risk, he wondered, would love and hope be enough to bridge the divide, or would they crumble under the weight of unfulfilled expectations? The night before the big day, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart racing. Could this really be the turning point? Or just another day filled with disappointment? The answer felt just beyond his grasp, swirling in the shadows like the dreams he desperately wanted to hold on to. Jake woke to the sound of birds chirping outside his window, their cheerful serenade stark against the knot of anxiety twisting in his chest. Today was the launch, a culmination of dreams, hard work, and the hopes of a family still tied to the past. He took a deep breath, pulling the weight of the morning into his lungs like a swimmer preparing to dive into uncertain waters. As he dressed, he could feel a restless energy coursing through him. The shop was already set to transform, vibrant banners fluttered, and the fresh scent of paint lingered in the air, a stark contrast to the suffocating silence that had so often filled the space. With each step he took toward the shop, anticipation mingled with doubt. Would the community embrace his vision? Or would they stake their claims in old ways, clinging to nostalgia? The shop hummed with life when he arrived. Volunteers buzzed around like bees, arranging tables, tweaking signs, and hanging decorations. Sarah caught sight of him and waved, her enthusiasm infectious. "Jake! Look at this!" She pointed at a large cardboard sign reading, "Welcome to the future," with bright, bold letters. Jake couldn't help but grin. "That's great. Just hope it doesn't scare anyone off," he joked, trying to lighten his own tense mood. "Fear often breeds misunderstanding," she replied, her expression turning serious. "But we're here to show them that change can be beautiful." He nodded, allowing her words to settle into his heart. He needed to believe that he wasn't alone in this fight, that the community could evolve and grow together. The sight of familiar faces coming in and out of the shop, carrying boxes of food and supplies, ignited a flicker of hope. Soon, the clock ticked closer to the event start. Every tick felt like a countdown, each one amplifying his anxiety. He spotted Mike across the room, looking fixed on the entrance, arms crossed tightly. Jake approached him, determination clashing with worry. "Are you okay?" Jake asked, unsure how to break through his brother's stoic exterior. Mike looked at him, his brow furrowed. "I'm just anxious. What if no one comes? What if they come, and it all flops?" Jake felt a pang in his chest. "We're doing it for Dad. We need to carry his vision forward." The shop wasn't just a store, it was a gathering place, a home. He desperately wanted Mike to see the importance of this day, the chance to rekindle their legacy. Janice entered the room, carrying a tray of cookies, rays of sunlight bouncing off her warm smile. "Hey, boys. A little fuel for the excitement." She placed the tray on a table adorned with balloons. The tension melted slightly as they took a cookie each, the chocolate chips melting in their mouths momentarily distracting them from their worries. As the first guests began to arrive, the atmosphere shifted. A mix of apprehension and excitement filled the air. Jake caught sight of a neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who had been one of his father's most loyal customers. She approached with her granddaughter, a wide smile on her face. "This is just the kind of change we need," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "I can't wait to see what you've done with the place." Jake felt a flicker of warmth spread through him. Maybe, just maybe, they were ready for this change. As the event kicked off, he stood at the front, heart pounding as he spoke to the crowd. His words poured out with fervor, urging them to unite. He wanted them to share in the dream, to feel the electric pulse of what the shop could become. But just as the crowd began to respond, he spotted a familiar figure lingering at the back. Mr. Collins, the town's most vocal critic. He hadn't expected to see him here today, and suddenly, doubt crept back in. What would his presence mean for the reception of the day? As Jake continued to speak, the room buzzed with applause, but his eyes were locked on Mr. Collins. Would he stand up to challenge everything he was trying to build? The weight of that question hung heavy in the air as the crowd began to shift, the moment of truth arriving right at the precipice of his dreams. Would this be the beginning of a new chapter, or the end of a long-held hope? Jake's heart raced as he caught Mr. Collins' eye. The older man's expression was inscrutable, an unyielding mask that threatened to unravel Jake's burgeoning confidence. He could feel the warmth of the crowd fading, replaced with the chill of uncertainty. What if Collins chose this moment to voice his doubts? Momentarily, Jake's voice faltered, his resolve crumbling, but then he remembered his father's unwavering spirit, how he faced every challenge with open arms. This was a defining moment not just for him, but for the community that had come together in the spirit of change. Drawing in a steadying breath, he pushed through the initial wave of fear. "Change isn't easy," he declared, his voice resonating with a newfound strength. "But it's necessary. We stand here today not just for ourselves, but for our future. A future where we can grow together, learn from our past, and become something better than we ever thought possible." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, while others exchanged uncertain glances. He could feel the audience shifting, exploring his words like a lifebuoy amidst choppy seas. For just a moment, he saw hope bloom within those familiar faces, the very faces that had filled his father's shop for years. But as quickly as it came, that fleeting feeling turned when Mr. Collins finally stepped forward. The room fell silent, tension thickening the air. The old man cleared his throat, his gritty voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "Jake, while this may seem like a bold new beginning for you, change doesn't always mean progress. What you're proposing," he gestured at the vibrant banners and the colorful displays, "might water down the very essence of what your father built." Jake felt a flush of anger and disappointment pooling in his chest. He could see Mike's jaw clenching beside him, the worry evident on his face. But Jacobs also knew this moment was pivotal. "Mr. Collins," he said, keeping his voice steady despite the tremors beneath, "I appreciate your concerns. But I believe that honoring my father's legacy means evolving it. We're all here because we love this community, and we want it to thrive." The crowd began to murmur again, some chattering enthusiastically, while others remained caught in uncertainty. Jake pressed on, hoping to gather the momentum. Together, we can breathe new life into this place. We can foster connections, promote local artisans, and make it a hub of collaboration and support. No one is being abandoned in this vision. Mr. Collins's gaze narrowed, but Jake spied the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. For all his bravado, perhaps he doubted whether clinging to the past was truly the best course ahead. Jake's words had ignited something, a spark of determination not just in himself, but in the faces around him. He saw Sarah beaming, the train of her energy feeding the restless crowd. Then there was Mrs. Patterson, clapping enthusiastically and shouting encouragement, her spirit infectious. Just as he thought he'd be pushed through the doubt, another voice joined the chorus of uncertainty. "What about our traditions?" a woman called from the back. "We can't forget where we came from." That anxiety twisted in Jake's chest again, threatening to cut off his momentum. "Tradition is important," he replied, swallowing hard, "but it should unite us, not divide us. We can honor the past while embracing the future. Let us build a community that reflects both." The energy in the room shifted again. There was a heat now, a palpable longing to understand. More voices began to echo in support, but there was still a lingering doubt that haunted the edges of the crowd. As he felt the tide of the conversation turn, Jake took a moment to connect with the eyes in front of him. He sensed a glimmer of acceptance, yet the uncertainty remained. It was then that he realized this wouldn't be resolved today. The words sank deep as he stepped back from the podium. While applause washed over him, he understood the battle was just beginning. Jake glanced back at Mr. Collins, who seemed caught between a rock and a hard place. Jake's heart raced again, not out of fear, but with the adrenaline of a challenge. He was stepping into unfamiliar waters, but he wouldn't navigate them alone. He felt the warmth of support pooling around him like a protective cloak. With a determined gaze, he stepped down to mingle with the crowd, whispering encouraging words, taking questions, planting seeds of possibilities. But deep inside, he couldn't shake the looming question: would he be strong enough to bridge the gap between the past they loved and the future they all craved? And just as Jake began to feel the buoy of hope, he heard a familiar voice from behind him. "Jake, can we talk?" It was Sarah, her expression serious, concern etched across her features. Jake's stomach churned with anticipation. What did she have to say now? Jake turned to face Sarah, her brows furrowed, and a hint of anxiety in her eyes. The vibrant energy of the crowd seemed to dim for a moment as he studied her expression. He gestured for her to follow him away from the clamor, finding a quieter corner where they could speak without interruption. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern creeping into his voice. He noticed the way her hands fidgeted, twisting a lock of hair around her finger. "Jake, it's about what you said up there." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I want to support you, I really do. But some people, they're scared. They don't want to lose what they know. They loved your dad's shop for a reason." Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. What she said clawed at his heart. He had hoped that his passion would sweep away doubt, but now he understood the depth of their fear. It wasn't just about change, it was about losing the familiarity that grounded them all. "I get that," he replied, his voice softening. "But change is part of growth, right? I just want to create a space where everyone feels like they belong. A new shop doesn't erase what came before, it builds on it." Her eyes met his, uncertainty swirling in their depths. "But what if they don't see it that way? What if they refuse to adapt?" "Then I'll show them," Jake said, his heart pounding with resolve. "I'll show them how beautiful it can be when we work together forward, not just hanging on to the past." Sarah's lips turned up slightly, but the worry didn't leave her expression. "Just be careful. You can't fight a battle alone." He nodded, feeling the weight of her thoughts. He enjoyed this connection with Sarah more than he could express. It felt both grounding and electrifying. "I won't be alone. I have this community behind me, I can feel it." Just then, a loud laugh erupted from the crowd, drawing their attention back to the lively gathering before him, but Jake couldn't shake off the gravity of their conversation. What if these people don't want change at all? It echoed in his mind like a warning bell. As he prepared to step back into the fray, he caught a glimpse of Mr. Collins still lingering at the edge of the gathering, his expression a mixture of skepticism and contemplation. That glance stirred something deep within Jake. Yes, Mr. Collins might be an obstacle, but he was also a bridge. If he could help him understand the vision, they would have a shot. The crowd buzzed around them, a mix of excitement and unease, but Jake felt the determination rise up in him. He couldn't let a few voices of doubt drown out the chorus of support that had begun echoing through the hall. I have to reconnect with Mr. Collins, he said, surprising himself with the urgency in his voice. Sarah stared at him, the spark of something powerful igniting in her eyes. You're not backing down, are you? You think you can win him over? I have to try, he responded, hope clashing with his fear. If I can get him on board, maybe the rest will follow. Jake made his way through the crowd, feeling Sarah's gaze burning on his back. With every step, excitement knotted with apprehension. No matter how thick Mr. Collins's armor appeared, Jake sensed a crack that could become his opening. As he approached the older man, Jake's heart thundered. Anxiety and determination fused within him. Would he be able to persuade the man who had so fiercely defended the past? He drew in a deep breath, ready to make his case, fueled by the vision of a united community ahead. But just then, he noticed a flicker of urgency across Sarah's face. Jake, wait! She called out, her voice a mix of alarm and command, heart racing. He turned to find her running towards him. Her words dripped with tension. You need to hear this, there's something you don't know. Jake's mind raced. What could it possibly be? As he stood frozen, the crowd still chattering, he felt an uneasy knot uncoiling. Whatever Sarah would say next could change everything. Jake's eyes widened as he absorbed Sarah's urgent tone. He glanced back at Mr. Collins, who stood patiently, but the passion within him held on a thread. Whatever Sarah had to say could either illuminate a path forward or shatter his resolve. What do you mean? He asked, stepping closer to her, trying to evoke the bravery he needed. Sarah swallowed, her expression shifting from alarm to a cautious seriousness. It's about your dad's shop and its future. I overheard a conversation. She hesitated, anxiously biting her lip. Mr. Collins, he is planning something. What do you mean? Planning what? Jake's heart began to race, a drumbeat of worry that resonated in his chest. She looked around, as if the walls had ears, and whispered, I think he is gathering people to talk about shutting the shop down altogether. You know, before you can bring in your changes. He thinks that if he can protect their memories by getting rid of the shop, it will benefit everyone. He doesn't want new ideas mixing with his memories. Those words hit Jake like a punch. He felt the color drain from his face, replaced by a surge of frustration. But that is insanity. How could he think that would honestly help? Because Sarah's voice softened, but her eyes remained fierce. People are scared. They're grieving. Your vision may seem promising, but for them, it feels like losing a piece of home. The crowd continued to swell with noise, but to Jake, it sounded like a muffled echo of everything he feared most: loss, confusion, despair. If he makes them choose between the past and a future with me, I have to stop him. I can't let that happen. Jake, she said, placing a steady hand on his arm. You need to think this through. Charging in isn't going to help. You need to show them a way to bridge that gap, not force them to choose sides. Can't you appeal to Mr. Collins first? You could build on his attachment to the shop by embracing its history while presenting your vision. He took a breath, thinking hard. That's what I have to do then. I have to invite him to be part of this. Show him how connecting the new with the old can create something special. Maybe I can even involve the community. Exactly, Sarah replied, relief flickering in her eyes. If you can help him understand this isn't about loss, but about evolution, maybe he'll back down. They just need reassurance. Jake's mind raced, mapping out plans, ideas, anything that could work. He could feel the stirring within him, that familiar blend of urgency and hope. "Thank you, Sarah. I needed this." Just before he could finish, a sudden roar from the crowd cut through their conversation. A group was laughing loud, gathered around a table where someone was mocking a local celebrity. The lightheartedness felt out of place in the weight of their conversation. With their moment slipping away, Jake turned back to Sarah, his resolve now crystal clear. "If I can expose the power of community, I can light a fire in their hearts. This isn't just a shop. This is a legacy." She smiled, a spark of gratitude reflected in her eyes. "And you'll have me by your side. But you need to hurry. If Mr. Collins is planning something, we might not have much time." Their eyes locked, and Jake nodded firmly. "Let us do this together." As they both moved toward the center of the crowd, a sudden thought stopped him. What if Mr. Collins has already scared some people into siding with him? That thought resonated deeply. The excitement was tinged with a heavy dread, uncertainty was infiltrating his spirit. Jake squeezed Sarah's hand briefly for encouragement as they forged ahead. But the reality of the looming confrontation gnawed at his heart. It wasn't just about the shop anymore. What if this was about the very fabric of their community? The stakes had never felt higher. With that weight clinging to him, the atmosphere thick with anticipation, he spotted Mr. Collins again. This is it, Jake thought, inhaling deeply as adrenaline surged through him. It's time to change the conversation. But as he approached, a sinkhole of doubt opened in his gut. Would he really manage to sway the man who held the power of the past? Jake's stomach twisted in knots as he closed the distance to Mr. Collins. Each step felt heavier than the last. The lively chatter of the crowd faded away, the laughter and banter morphing into a dull hum. His heart pounded like a drum, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Mr. Collins stood tall, his gray hair catching the light. He looked regal, almost intimidating. The community pillar, the keeper of memories. This was no ordinary conversation Jake was about to initiate, it felt monumental in ways he couldn't fully articulate. What if he couldn't convey his vision? What if the weight of nostalgia buried his ideas before they saw the light of day? "Jake," Mr. Collins greeted, his gravelly voice a strange mix of warmth and distance. "I see you've rallied the troops." Jake offered a polite smile, but his insides churned. "Mr. Collins, can we talk? Just for a moment?" The old man raised an eyebrow but nodded, stepping away from the crowd. "Sure. What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Jake steeled himself. "I heard you're planning a meeting to discuss shutting down the shop. Is that true?" Mr. Collins' demeanor shifted, his expression tautning. "This isn't a matter for you to concern yourself with, Jake. Some things are better left alone." "No, it is my concern." The force behind Jake's words surprised even him. "You think shutting it down will protect the memories, but those memories don't exist in the void. They're in the people. They're alive in this community. And the shop it's a bridge to the past, not a barrier." Mr. Collins crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing. "You're naive, boy. You don't understand the weight of history. These people they don't want change. They want to preserve what they know." Frustration simmered within Jake. "But preserving it doesn't mean we can't grow. I want to honor the past, but we have to embrace the future too. What if we work together? We could blend your invaluable history with new ideas that engage the community instead of alienating them." For a moment, the air hung heavy with silence. The chatter from the crowd felt like a distant echo, leaving just the two of them suspended in this crucial moment. Jake watched Mr. Collins carefully, searching for a crack in the wall of stubbornness. Finally, Mr. Collins sighed. "It's not that simple. The people are scared, Jake. You don't know how deep those roots run. The shop isn't just a business, it's a lifeline." "I know," Jake replied, lowering his voice. "But what if we can transform that lifeline into something even stronger? Let us host a community event, celebrate the history while presenting new ideas." Show them how the old can coexist with the new. He could see the flicker of contemplation in Mr. Collins' eyes. Just a flicker, but it was something, a crack in the armor. But your ideas, they seem risky, Mr. Collins said. What if people resist? What if it fails? Jake felt the weight of uncertainty but pressed forward. Change is scary, but stagnation is worse. Together, we can face this challenge as a united front. We could honor the past while inviting everyone to participate in our future. Before Mr. Collins could respond, a commotion broke out behind them. Jake turned to see a small group of locals shouting, their faces flushed with agitation. Fear gnawed at him. Had he waited too long? Jake? Sarah rushed over, her brow furrowed. I heard some of them talking. They're gathering support for a petition to shut down the shop because of Mr. Collins' influence. We have to do something, now. In that moment, the gravity of the situation slammed into him. Everything he fought for was slipping through his fingers. He looked back at Mr. Collins. We need to act fast. If we don't engage with the community, we could lose everything. Mr. Collins' expression softened slightly, the anger giving way to something that resembled empathy. Perhaps you're right, he began hesitantly. But before they could continue, a loud voice rang out from the crowd, demanding attention. Jake's heart raced again. Is it too late for us to save the shop? That question hung heavy in the air, leaving Jake with one burning realization: they were all waiting for a sign. Would he be their guide, or would he let this moment slip away? Jake felt the weight of the crowd's anticipation pressing down on him like a thick fog. Voices mixed with anxiety revealed his own heartbeat. Is it too late for us to save the shop? That single question echoed in his mind as he turned back to Mr. Collins. He sensed that this moment was far bigger than him or the shop. It was about the people who cared so deeply for their roots, their memories intertwined with every shelf, every trinket. We can save it, Jake called out, his voice more confident than he felt. But first, we need to listen to each other. The locals quieted down slightly, curiosity mingling with skepticism. Sarah stood by his side, her eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. Jake felt a sense of camaraderie with her, united by a single purpose. What if we host a gathering here? A celebration of our history and what is to come. He glanced at Mr. Collins, whose brow furrowed as if weighing the decision like a stone dropped into water, sending ripples across the surface. A festival? Mr. Collins asked, his voice low. You think they want that? Yes, I do. Jake insisted, his heart racing. Get people involved, everyone's stories matter. They love this place. If we show them how important it is for the future, they might see it differently. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some nodded, others exchanged wary glances. What about the petition? Someone shouted from the back. People want change, they think we should move on. Jake's chest tightened at the thought of losing everything. But what if change doesn't mean we have to lose anything? He countered, stepping forward. Let us show all the ways we can adapt while keeping our history alive. We can blend old wisdom with fresh ideas. Mr. Collins looked out over the crowd, studying their faces. The tension hung thick in the air, every person's convictions clashing like waves against the shore. Jake's hands trembled slightly as he desperately searched for some glimmer of hope in Mr. Collins' eyes. Look, the old man began slowly, I understand you want what's best. But you don't know how many are worried a gathering will only bring conflict. They might not be ready to compromise. True, Jake acknowledged, his heart sinking slightly. But he pressed on. But if we don't try, we lose it all. This shop is our past. It can also be our future. Let us turn this into an opportunity to reconnect. That way, the memories don't just fade and die. Silence settled momentarily, thick like the steam from the nearby coffee shop. Then, Sarah spoke up, her voice clear and steady. We all love this place. We want it to be here for our kids, too. Let us show Mr. Collins and each other that we can rebuild together. Let us bring people in. Around him, soft murmurs turned into quiet agreement. Jake's pulse quickened, he felt the tide was turning. Suddenly, Mr. Collins' expression softened even further, revealing a glimpse of the leader he used to be. If I can trust you with this, it could be worth discussing, he said slowly. Jake took a step closer, his heart soaring. Let us plan it together. We can honor every story while weaving a new one. But before joy could fully surface, a voice cut through the air again. What is stopping us from losing faith after all this? Jake's stomach sank. He had no easy answer, and it was clear that doubt still festered among the people. He needed a way to ignite their trust, to spark hope. Trust takes time, Jake said, his voice steady. But we can only begin if we try. We can build something greater, something that unites us. But I need each of you to believe. The crowd remained silent, tension still sparking in the air. Jake felt the urgent weight of their waiting eyes, each one filled with yearning for resolution and fear of the unknown. What will it take for you to believe? He thought, as he stood before them, ready to fight for what he knew mattered most. What would happen if he turned this fear into action, into hope? Would they really take a chance together? Jake scanned the faces in the crowd, each one a mix of apprehension and curiosity. What did they truly want? He felt an undercurrent of fear planting its roots deeper within him. Were they ready to let go of their doubts and embrace a shared future? Let us talk about what we all cherish about this place, he urged. The stories of laughter, love, and friendship that echo off these walls. This shop holds memories we should celebrate together. Sarah edged closer to Jake, her presence steadfast. We should start with a simple idea, she suggested. Let us ask everyone to share a memory. One at a time. Yeah. Someone in the crowd called out. Encouraged, Jake pressed on. Exactly. I want to hear about your first visit here, your favorite items, your most embarrassing moments. Laughter erupted, breaking the tension slightly, and he clung to that warmth. But what if the memories only reignited old wounds? Jake swallowed hard. We can also talk about how the world is changing and what we can do together. We each have a piece of this puzzle. His breath caught in his throat as he waited for a response. Well, I have a story, a woman called out from the back, her hands nervously twisting her necklace. I came here as a kid, and Mr. Collins helped me find my first book. It felt like magic. The crowd murmured, curiosity peaking. Another voice chimed in, and I remember sitting in the reading corner while my mom shopped, hearing the tales of all the places I wanted to go. Jake leaned into the momentum. See. These stories aren't just nostalgic, they're a foundation. And what if we could create new stories to add to the old ones? He could feel the energy shifting, building slowly, but he wanted more. What if he took a deep breath? What if we threw a community festival not just to celebrate the shop, but to celebrate each other? Games, food, stories. We can invite everyone. The crowd buzzed with renewed excitement. He saw hope shining in the eyes of many, including Mr. Collins. Jake dared to hope that the old man might step up as a true leader again, igniting more hearts with a shared vision. All right, Mr. Collins finally spoke up, his voice steadier now. Let us entertain this idea. If we are going to make this work, we need to gather a dedicated group of volunteers. We can meet tomorrow and divide tasks. Jake felt sweat on his palms. And it can't be just a one-time event, he added, heart racing. It has to be the start of something bigger. A way to keep connecting, to continue sharing. We can transform this shop into a hub for our community. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Jake felt a surge of energy coursing through him. He turned to Sarah, their excitement mirroring each other's. It felt like they were standing at the edge of something monumental, something that could change everything, but somewhere in the back, doubt still lurked. What if it doesn't work out? Someone hesitated. What if no one comes? What if that fear tugged at Jake's heart? He took another deep breath, threading his determination through the churning emotions around him. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, he said, his voice unwavering. We owe it to ourselves to try. As the crowd finally began to move, buzzing with purpose, Jake silently vowed to himself that he would not let fear win. They would launch into this new adventure, come what may. All right, he called out, let us make a plan. Tomorrow at 2. As part of the crowd began to disperse, excitement and anxiety mixed in the air. All he could do now was hope they wouldn't tee back down. What would the next day bring? Would they truly come together, or was it all just a fleeting dream? The day of the community festival dawned bright, the sun spilling generous golden light across Maplewood as if it, too, wanted to bask in the transformation Jake had dreamed of. Excitement danced in the hearts of everyone as the shop buzzed with preparations. Banners fluttered like colorful butterflies around an inviting space, while laughter echoed through the air, melding with the wonderful smells of barbecue and baked goods that filled the surroundings. Jake stood at the entrance, heart racing, as familiar faces began to gather. Mrs. Patterson was organizing her famous cookies at the refreshment table, while kids darted around with painted faces, their joyous laughter like music. Jake couldn't help but smile. It felt right. This celebration wasn't just about the shop, it was about the community, about bridging the past they cherished with the future they yearned for. When the clock struck 2, the shop was overflowing. The energy was electric, anticipation buzzing across the crowd. Jake stood on a makeshift platform, feeling dwarfed by the warmth of collective hope. He could see Mr. Collins at the back, arms crossed yet with a small, tentative smile tucked in the corners of his mouth. Jake drew strength from the sight and cleared his throat to speak. Thank you for coming. He began, voice steady and strong. We're here to celebrate everything this place means to us. It's filled with our memories. We built a family here through laughter, support, and love. But it's also time to create new stories. Today, let us join hands and be part of something greater than ourselves. The crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of sound that surged like a breath of fresh air. It felt like an embrace, a collective acknowledgement of the path ahead. He continued, inviting people to share their stories. Let us open the floor. Who remembers their first visit here? One by one, voices emerged from the audience. Stories of first loves discovered over coffee, of children going on treasure hunts through the aisles, of friendships forged under the warm glow of the shop lights. Each story built upon the last, each memory knitting them closer together. As laughter and sincerity flowed freely, Jake's heart swelled with pride and warmth. He scanned the faces and saw Mr. Collins finally stepping forward, his posture relaxing, allowing himself to be swept up in the moment. This shop has seen us through good times and bad, he proclaimed, his voice carrying authority but also a vulnerability. For the younger generations, it can symbolize hope and innovation. The crowds roared, each person feeling part of this beautiful tapestry being woven anew, the old intertwined lovingly with the new. Jake's heart raced with renewed determination. This was the turning point. They were ready to embrace the possibilities, to let go of the fear that had held them back. Through games, food, and a shared love for their community as history, a wave of connection transformed the once skeptical townspeople. Colleagues and neighbors exchanged numbers and stories. Ideas were born out of laughter, while faces lit up with revelations of collaboration. Jake felt hope surge through him like the sun breaking the clouds. This was a new beginning. The festival hummed on without a hitch. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Jake gathered everyone for the final moment. Your voices brought life back to the shop. I believe we can continue building what our community stands for together. I can't do this without you. The crowd erupted in cheers once more, enthusiasm electrifying the air. He caught sight of Sarah, her radiant smile reflecting their shared joy. We did it! She exclaimed, her eyes bright with unshed tears. But just as the momentum seemed to climax, Jake spotted movement at the edge of the gathering. Mr. Collins stood tall, ready to contribute something more. If we're going to embrace change, he announced, we must acknowledge our roots. With those words, a surge of understanding washed over the crowd. Let us form a committee to ensure this place Continue striving, blending the cornerstone traditions of the past with the innovation we've seen today. A wave of agreement swept through the audience. They applauded loudly, supportive shouts breaking out, affirming their commitment to Jake's vision, their vision. Together, they would reshape the future, growing as a united community while honoring the past. As Jake stepped back from the platform, overwhelmed with gratitude, he met Sarah's gaze. They walked a path together from uncertainty to joy. The future was now bright, a focus on teamwork, love, and innovation, and it was theirs to shape. This was just the beginning. Don't wait one more second. Jake shouted, urgency ringing in his voice. You need to subscribe now to witness this journey unfold further. Leave a like to support our vision as we build a strong community. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this incredible transformation. Share this video with 5 friends who need to be part of this exciting journey. Let us ignite this movement together.